Lee Higginson is a visual artist, photographer, and community connector. She may or may not also be a trapeze artist. We talk about growing up in an artistic family, planning your art versus going where the inspiration strikes, and the joy of supporting other people's creativity. Hi, Lee. Thanks for being here.
Hi. Thank you for having me.
Oh my gosh, it's a pleasure. This is Make Like a Mother, and this is Lee Higginson we're chatting with today. I'm chatting with. I don't know who the royal we is that I just was talking about there, but anyway. So Lee, obviously I know you in person, but doing my little research, I was looking you up online, and I really loved that your social media bio is just simply like art, photography, community connection. Or community programming, depending which bio you look at. But to me, I was like, oh, you've nailed it, because whenever I'm at a community event, you're always there. You're often there with your camera, or you're often leading a workshop. Sometimes you're in a costume.
All of the above.
All of the above. Yeah. So you were 100% in community doing your thing. And I'm just wondering off the top here, like, why does that community connection piece matter to you enough as an artist that it's part of your bio?
Well, I mean, now that you say that, I think I have them in the wrong order because there isn't anything without it. Like, how do you do any job, much less something in the creative realm, unless you have a connection to your community? Like, so that's the heart of everything, because you can make art, you don't need to have people see it, you don't need people to look at your photos in order to do it, but um if the point is to make people feel happy about where they live, or to make people feel glad about some art they've made, then you need to be connected to the community. So,
Yeah.
and it's easy here.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. Well, that's interesting though, because you just kind of touched on the point is to make people feel happy. And that's not necessarily every artist's point, right? But your
Yeah.
art does look to me like you're responding to and like kind of in conversation with your community, our community. For example, just to name a few, but I could almost point to any single thing you've done and say, this is what I mean. But the work you do related to the lake, your lake photography, your driftwood painting, your like beach sculptures, because you live on the shores of Lake Ontario. Also, one of the first things that I really noticed of yours online that I was obsessed with was your Stones of Regulation set, which was like inspired by your son, but then picked up by educators all around. And it's like throughout schools in our region now, right? So it makes sense to me when you say, if the point is to make people happy, that shines through in your work for sure. Yeah, I'm curious, given that it seems to me like your work is sort of responsive or like conversational, do you have a plan, like, on a given year? Are you like, "Okay, here's the projects I plan to work on this year," or do you kind of just have your feelers out, open to the next bit of inspiration and, like, wait, like, kinda just ready to go with what strikes you?
I love that you're asking me that, knowing the answer
I
already.
don't
Of
know if I do
course,
know the answer completely.
of course, there's no plan. There's never a plan. There isn't a plan day to day. Like, nothing. It's a very much a responsive thing. Like, oh yeah, it's the eclipse. Oh yeah, it's a full moon last night. Oh yeah, like 4 minutes before the moonrise, I'm in my car and I'm driving down to the lake, and then, and it's just because this cool thing is happening. Like, I think that's usually just my answer, is like, this is really cool. Other people should see something that's cool. Like, and I think it's just like how my operation platform, and in the same vein, sharing other people's arts or other people's projects or anything like that is just, when you live in a community that's so accessible to get places, or so accessible to meet an artist you like face to face, or any of these things, like, it's just kind of highlighting that the gift of living in a community like this is your access to everything, and why don't you do it? So yeah, there's no plan. It is just like, oh, I wake up and look, it's snowing, and hey, go from there, or whatever.
That's incredible to me because the amount first of all, you have just, like, this seemingly boundless energy, and the amount of energy, but then also follow through it would take to me to, like, wake up and be like, "Oh, this cool thing's happening. I'm going to go photograph it or make a sculpture or do something, whatever, and then I'm going to, like, execute that and share it with the world." Often in, like, a 24-hour period, you do it really quickly and really
Mhm.
effectively. There's, like it's interesting that you're saying there's no plan, but to me, there's also, like, you are one of the best, um, people I know, anyway, at sharing your work in such a way that the community really, like, feels I don't know, like, I think you get a huge response to the things you're doing.
I mean, thank you for saying that. I mean, I don't feel that because, I kind of quit. I'm not gonna say quit. Quit's the wrong word. I changed my art practice a couple of years ago when I realized that it was more important to me to facilitate people doing creative pursuits than me sitting in isolation making
Okay.
things. And it's not to say that I won't go back to that or I don't love that. I do love that. But kind of the overall kind of global health and the global wellness that you feel as an individual, but also that you kind of soak in as a community when you work in groups and when you bring a project to a group of seniors or school kids or anyone in between, um, that feels more valuable to me at this point.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, it's it, it's the power of ADHD basically. It's like, "Oh, I thought of that and I got it done." And if I thought about it more than 4 minutes, it would never happen. So, the amount of things you don't see that don't get executed is because I thought about it and then I got distracted and it never happened. So,
Okay, fair enough.
I'm glad it looks like, she did all these things in a row and made it happen.
Well, it looks like follow through for sure. It looks like getting an idea and seeing it through to
Woohoo!
fruition, which is great. Yeah, so
Not
the
sure anyone's
community
ever said that to me before, so thank you for
well, there you go. You can frame it. Um, yeah, I certainly know you as a community arts, like, I would say, I guess, facilitator, or programmer or whatever word you wanna use. My kids and I actually, my husband, my whole family, we did a Christmas ornament workshop with you a few years ago, and my kids were really surprised at the level of work they were able to do coming into something they didn't know how to do or what they were gonna be asked to do, particularly my son, who does not think of himself as an artist. He was really proud of what he made, and, like, that is again, not to be I'm not trying to, like, pump your tires, but that is the mark of a well-facilitated workshop, right? Like, you've done the work and you know what you're doing to create a really uplifting and creative and inspiring event for people who don't walk in thinking they're artists. So, you kind of already touched on it and that why you think it's important, but, like, what do you get out of those workshops as an artist?
I mean, so I have been working in programming since I was 20 years old, so
Okay.
many decades. I've always worked even though it's been in different types of, venues, it's always kind of been that connecting people to programming they wouldn't or to something they wouldn't otherwise do without a
Okay.
facilitator. So, um, there's a lot of history there. There's a lot of background in there, like worked at the Science Center and I worked at all the national museums in Ottawa and Gatineau and, I wrote tours for Parliament Hill and, my career all started off kind of there and working at that level. And then when I moved to Port Hope, it was kind of just like stop, regroup. My kids are little. And then it's that, that kind of, okay, you come out kind of bleary eyed like a groundhog and your children are now old enough to kind of put their own shoes on or whatever that
Yeah.
age is. And you start to look out into where you live and to what your new role is in a different town. So for me, um, it's what you said. It's the idea that you have someone like your son come in like a little bit standoffish or whatever thing. I'm not an artist. I'm not good at art. Like I expect that from everyone kind of over 12 and certain people under 12. Like that's how people come. I'm not an artist. I don't know what I'm doing. It's not going to be good. I give enormous amounts of credit to Ed Hagedorn because when he came and did workshops before the Art Wellness program started, he really validated this idea that art's for everyone and that there is no right and no wrong, and busting people out of this myth that it's a graded effort, like breaking out of this kind of school model where you get marked on things. It doesn't matter.
Mhm.
Like, so if you bring to a group the idea that you can't pass, you can't fail. And in fact, like, I don't care what you make, and as long as you're enjoying the process, you can chuck it out on your way out the door. There's a recycling bin right there. Like,
Yeah.
we are here together in this moment to lean into this time, maybe forget some stuff that's going on anywhere else, and just create. Like, the creation is 100% of the value, the
Mm.
process. Are you going to take it home and hang it on your wall? Maybe. Like, if you love it, I hope you do. If
Yeah.
you loved, if your kid loved that Christmas ornament, great. Like, I'm so happy when that happens. But um, for me, it's just there's like a hum. It's just a like there's a vibe of goodness, when you're in a group and everyone kind of gets into the swing. And sometimes, if you're really lucky, there's this moment where everyone goes quiet at the same time, and it's just this like buzz of people
Yeah.
working on their own thing in a circle of one things. And it's magic when that happens. So to have the privilege of bringing people supplies, giving an introduction and setting them free on what they are going to make within that,
Mhm.
like, how could that not be the greatest thing ever?
That's amazing. Um, what is the art wellness program you just mentioned?
So about 5 years ago now, I guess, Greenwood Coalition received funding for a youth mental health wellness program, I think through Cameco way back. And I think it was a COVID related program, and I'd been volunteering with the Greenwood Coalition over the course of a couple years. So they got the funding and they asked if I wanted to facilitate an art wellness program at that time. So that's when I got to do kind of the workshopping with Ed and started there. A lot has changed in that process, but the program now runs in collaboration with CMHA
Okay.
in HKPR district. And so it's this really beautiful partnership of the CMHA team bringing people from their programs into this space at Greenwood and Coburg. But it's also just an open door project. So you have what we would call clients, except that they're all family. We're all together and coming in. But then you just have whoever show up, and artists will come in and show us how to do a particular thing. And we meet every week, or 2 hours every week. And then it always spills in a little more than 2 hours. And it's been going on for 5 years. And some of the people have been there for like a really large portion of that. And we operate on like a lot of donated materials, and we have a lot of people over the years who've said, "Oh, we have food left over from yesterday." I mean, Zach Copeland has been incredibly generous this particular year and this season, just with things coming in, and there's always just snacks and good vibes and art. So that's one of kind of my days of the week is working over there with that crew.
So cool. So is that program where the not that this is the only thing happening there, but where the portrait project that you and Hilda, our
Exactly.
shared friend or mutual friend Hilda Van Netten
Yes.
have created? Yeah. Okay,
Yes.
this portrait project, I want you to explain it. I wanna know how it
Mm.
started, what the inspiration was, and how it works. And then also if we, not to give an ADHD person 3 instructions at a time, but also how do people see this work? Because it's spectacular.
Okay. I mean, I could literally do an hour-long TED Talk on Hilda and how amazing she is
Hilda's
and this
amazing. Yeah,
project,
absolutely.
because this is exactly kind of the root of everything we've just spoken to up in this point, which is an unplanned magic that couldn't have been predicted in what happened. So, um, I'm gonna say 2 years ago now, and hopefully I'm right on that, but we'll say, 2 years ago, the group had been running in this space right on King Street. It's right at King and Division. It's a real hub of busyness. And Hilda came in, and Hilda was connected with everyone in that group in some way. Hilda has a really cool background story in the time that she worked at Brookside, and you know, she's an artist of enormous skill. But I remember her coming in and saying, "I'm thinking about starting portraiture again, or I'm thinking of refining my portrait skills." And I mean, I know Hilda and I know her to be creative. I had no concept of the absolute mastery that this person has. And it's like watching like a virtuoso at work. Like it's just there's something really special about what she does. She works entirely in chalk, which also is, as an artist, is wild to me. There couldn't be anything less forgiving or more challenging to work in chalk. So the very first day it happened, she drew a friend of mine, Eric, who's there every single week, um, and it was really, really cool. Like she just it's like no time, and then she holds it up, and everyone kind of goes like, like what just
Yeah.
happened? And it very quickly spun into this thing where she shows up every week with her tools, and she looks around the room and she sees who she hasn't drawn before. And there's this cool old barbershop chair in the back. And she goes there and people sit there for an hour and she talks to them. And because it's Hilda and because she's so magic, like it becomes this beautiful, like back and forth of like deep thoughts and feelings and life stories and everything. And she really has like created this unbelievable database of like faces
Mhm,
in time
mhm,
of people who've come and gone from the space. And when I tell you like the diversity of
mhm.
who has come and gone, and also the idea that there's always someone new for her to draw. And
Yeah.
I mean, there must be, I don't even know the number of them. There's probably 60 or 70 of them, maybe more. Like there's a lot of
Yeah.
portraits in there. Um, anyway, to watch her work is exquisite. To watch her improve, like
Mhm.
she didn't need to. It's amazing. But for her to kind of feel like, oh yeah, like I got this one. And the process, it's a really cool thing. So the work is on the walls and kind of rotates a bit because some people receive their portrait and it's so special and kind of sacred, and then you never see it again. Like
Yeah.
they hand it to them and it goes. But there's a lot there. Then there's probably, I don't know, 15 of them up on the wall, which we are thinking about refreshing because don't need to see our faces
Yeah.
anymore. But yeah, the space is at 20 King Street East in Coburg,
Okay.
and there are different programs that are open there during the week, and I don't want to speak to those specific ones because I don't have the schedule memorized. But certainly,
Sure.
the group that I am there for, which is on every Wednesday during the school year, every Wednesday from 11 till 1, and quite often in the summer as
Okay.
well. That door is open, so everyone is welcome. Always, just
Amazing.
come in, and you can make something or have a snack.
Yeah. And I'm just gonna say the part you didn't say. You take pictures of the
I
people that Hilda uses, takes home with her to help complete, and Hilda has told me how special and important your portrait photos are of these folks. So you just kinda skipped right over the part where you had any
know,
involvement
it's because to
whatsoever.
me, it's like nothing. Like, to me, I take
To
these
you, it's
photos and I give them
nothing.
to it's not yeah, I
To
didn't
you,
even
it's
think
nothing.
about that part of it. But yeah,
Well,
that's pretty cool because there are photos, also photos of every single person,
yeah,
who's been in
that's
there. And
yeah,
and even people like it's quite sad, but like people who are no longer here
yeah.
and who've left us. And yeah, it's eh, I would advise anybody who cares about art to come in, even if it's just to come in and watch her work. Like there is something unbelievable about the whole process.
Wow. Okay. Well, I've seen the portraits, but I haven't been there to see it in action. So maybe I'm gonna have to get there too
Please do.
during one of the sessions where she's actually in process making it
Yeah.
happen. Yeah, absolutely. Wow. Um, so beside, I mean, not that you need to have more on the go, but besides your work with Greenwood, what else are you working on right now?
So right now I always, there's always a lot on the go.
Mhm.
Right now I am working on two other main projects. One is a history project working with critical mass art and the Capitol Theater. Been working since the fall on kind of collecting oral histories of Port Hope. So that kind of wraps up this month, which is terrifying and sad all at the same time
Oh,
because there's no way to do everything you want to do in a town like Port Hope. But I've spoken with, I don't know, between 20 and 30 different people and kind of collected those histories, and then have probably double that I would like to speak to. So this may continue in a different stretch. So really, really fascinating working with that, but then also working with Rob at the Capitol Theater and Debbie, of course, at Critical Mass. But working with Rob on storytelling workshops with this group and with these people, just yeah, he's really blown my mind about how important it is to sit in a group and work on this idea of
Mm.
storytelling and standing up in front of people and like sharing and like writing letters to former versions of yourselves. And how can you like, stand up and share that in a kind of theatrical art way. He's an amazing facilitator. I'm so grateful for that part of it. The other project I'm working on is very exciting. It's with the Lakelands Health in Peterborough, which is the new amalgamated health unit, on a project for substance use prevention in youth. So this is some art, kind of bringing art in as part of this program in high schools in Peterborough, and it's fabulous. So,
Wow.
and there's about 3 or 4 other little things as
Sure.
well, but
Sure.
we'll
Yeah.
call those things the big ones for now.
Yeah. Being an artist is very much like I don't know, an ongoing, I wouldn't say a masterclass. It's like being pummeled with things every day and trying to make sure you grab the ones that need to get finished and like remember the ones that had to fly by that day and grab them later, right? Like the
Yeah,
to-do
like
list
weekends,
is
like what's that?
yeah. Yeah. Um,
Vacation time, as if.
right. Well, it's tricky because I don't know if you find this, but like this is what I want to do with my time.
Mhm.
But then sometimes, yes, you're like, "Oh, I need to take a break from this. It's too much. It is also my job." But, like, it's also got pressure and stress in it. So sometimes, yeah, you're like, I'm guilty of overbooking for fun,
Oh,
thinking it'll be fun, and then being like, I just need to binge
and
watch some
also, like,
TV."
realistically, also because 'cause we're all broke. Like, it's
Yeah,
hard to say no to gigs because, like, we work in the arts, and it's hard to say no to something you love
hard
that
to not
also
get
pays
paid.
money, right?
Mhm.
So, yeah, but burnout is for real, like, it's definitely, like, on all levels, right?
Yeah.
When you run really hard and you work for multiple people in multiple places, like,
Yeah.
it's good to remember, like,
Yeah.
just chill.
Absolutely. And the work you're doing also has a lot of those pieces have, um not a caretaking element, but you are
Mhm.
offering a service to people who are in need of a service, and so your energy output there is, like, almost double. You've got the artist output, but you've also got sort of a community, almost an outreach worker
Mhm.
hat on as well in some ways, right? Which can really take a lot of energy.
Yeah, for sure, it does sometimes. You really like, there's hand-holding that goes along with convincing somebody they're worthy of sitting
Yeah.
down to make art, right? Like, there's 100% a piece of that at all ages.
Um, I'm really curious, you briefly talked about what you were doing before having kids and before
Mhm.
moving to Port Hope, and then we're talking about all these things, and I'm wondering, like, what were you doing before you had kids? Were you making art? Were you you mentioned some, like, program creation. Were you facilitating? Do you have a community outreach background? Like, I'm just curious, how did all this come to be? Where and what back before you had kids, what pieces of this were
I'm
already
like,
happening?
"Oh, that's 20 years ago as of
Yeah.
this week," and I'm like, "Wow, that's a long time." Um, yes. I mean, I come from a family of artists and photographers, so there isn't any time in my life that I don't feel as though the art was present.
Okay.
Like, I spent my 20s hauling my grandfather's mid-century camera kit around and being earnest and,
Okay.
like, old film through X-ray machines, like
Okay.
so,
Alright, yeah.
um, like, there was never like, it isn't until you get older that you realize that the way you grew up isn't the way everyone grows up, and it's such a silly thing, but it really is true that you don't know. And my mom used to draw us as like animals, like this is your animal of the day, here's your spirit animal. Like she'd do a family portrait, but we were all different animals, and it wasn't always like nice. Like sometimes it's like, oh, you're a dung beetle today or whatever. Right? Like it was always funny. You didn't know who you were.
How did you know?
Um, yeah. Like, she'd be like she used to always my default was Blue Jay 'cause she's like, "You're cute, but, like, you make a lot."
Uh,
And then my grandmother taught me to paint and, like, my grandfather was like a tool and die maker, but like every minute he could, he'd be out and taking photos. And I remember like showing people in a book, like in Peterborough, be like published. I'd be like, that's my grandpa's photo. And
Wow.
so yeah, I think it was just there. And uh, when you're young and you don't know what you're doing yet, I think like working in something like being a park guide, like a tour guide for Parks Canada, or like however, like the ways I started, that felt like the stepping stones,
Hmm.
to kind of learning to stand up in front of a group of people, like learning to deliver, a speech about whatever. And
Yeah.
so yeah, so I think it all kind of led to the part. I think it's a different kind of community engagement,
Hmm.
but an important step when you're young and learning skills. So
Yeah.
it does feel connected to me, in my mind.
Okay. Yeah. The path is never straight, right? It's never
No,
like just and
it
then
would
I
be
was a
terrible if
full-time
it
artist.
was.
Yeah. That's true.
I mean, I mean, sure, there's people who are now retiring with pensions, and that, I mean, on reflection, I'm like, "Oh, that might have been smart."
Who needs to be smart? Who needs that? We're having fun. Um, okay, well, I mean, once you had your sons, you have 2 sons, um, at what point like, I'm curious basically at what point did being an artist and a community connector and facilitator and all that, when did that become the thing you were doing?
So after my kids were born, I was doing a lot of volunteer work in Port Hope and a lot of work like with them. Like when my son was diagnosed with autism, it was the month before he started school. Um, and that was a lot to process for me. And we moved here in time for him to start school. So yeah, so the first, I would honestly, like when they were in elementary school, I was staying pretty close to home. Like I volunteered a lot with the ACO, locally, and did a lot of work then. But really, I was in school. Like I was
Mhm.
on call,
Yeah.
because I think we were all just learning. And then when I moved it on my own and brought the kids with me, and I got my own place, after my marriage ended, that was when it all started. And it's called, like, the business is called Fluke because so much of this just feels like steps that were such a fluke, along the way. So, that was 2017, that I kind of started just, well, what happens if you do it? And like, there's a part of me that looks back on that and thinks like, oh, that was brave.
Yeah.
You to just do that and go out and put things up on a wall and just like there's a courage that must have gone hand in hand with like delirium that stage, but I'm grateful for it.
Yeah.
Because yeah, it really it, it changed my focus, but it also changed my who I was connecting with in the community in some ways. And then that leads you to a path where you really feel like you are giving back to the right parts, which is what I feel like where I'm at, where I'm very happy that my energy goes where it goes
Mm,
right now.
yeah. Well, you kinda just took us full circle right back to the community connection, opening question, so I'm gonna actually wrap up with that because I think that is at the core of what I know about you as an artist, and you are one of those people, whose name comes up whenever somebody's trying to collaborate in a creative way in this community. So I just think that that's really heart and soul of what you're known for anyway. And so I'd like to leave it at that. But just letting people know if you'd like that they can find you and your work and see what you're up to online. I think Facebook. I'm not on there anymore, but Facebook and Instagram both at Fluke Craft, right?
Yeah, and I actually populate my personal page more these days, just again because I'm not making my own art. So Flucraft is alive and well. It's
Yep.
just kind of on hiatus because I don't make a lot of my own stuff. But my handle on Instagram is PohoPics, POHOPICS, and just under my name on Facebook. And I share, you know, maybe too much. Like I'm like, here's my kids, here's my life, here's my truth.
Yeah.
It's on there. So,
Doesn't feel like too
but
much
yeah,
to me. Thank you. So I'll be putting that in the show notes. Not that it's too much, but just the links in case you don't know how to spell those things. And this was such a pleasure, Lee. I knew it would be. You're always a joy. So thank you.
I feel exactly the same way about you, and thank you for having me.